ETH just hit a new all-time high, and if we take a look into what happened with Bitcoin this cycle after breaking the previous cycle high, just like Ethereum just did, we're in for another major Ethereum move higher and most probably a highly bullish phase for altcoins also. So that is what we need to discuss within today's update video, but we will discuss a lot more than only that. Like the Bitcoin seasonality, the most important Bitcoin charts, the latest news hitting the markets. We will do a recap on that Powell speech of yesterday. We will take a deep dive into those target rate probabilities, and of course a deeper dive into that Ethereum price action and the latest news there. So let's talk about exactly that, but not before you subscribe to the channel and watch and like my latest YouTube videos, and then we can dive into the most important content. Since ETH just hit a new all-time high, after that Powell speech we saw a massive surge to the top side for Ethereum, and this happened because Powell did take a dovish stance on the markets. The most important thing was that there is a policy shift coming for the Fed, where they aren't going to be looking in towards the inflation that much anymore. They are going to look in towards the labor market. And because the labor market is currently weakening, we could see, and we are probably going to see, a rate cut in September. And that is why Ethereum and also a lot of other high risk assets started to pumping like the upside like never before. And Ethereum just flew towards new all-time highs. So that was definitely absolutely insane. And like I stated in the intro, with Bitcoin, once we did break that previous cycle high all the way back in 2024, it has been a long time since then basically, but after that we saw a massive Bitcoin surge to the top side, almost or over 80% here. So if that is going to happen for Ethereum or somewhat like that, we could be looking in towards an Ethereum price target close to $10,000. Do I think that's realistic? Not really. It is possible, but is it realistic? I don't think so. But it does show that definitely there is a higher Ethereum price target incoming than just breaking this previous all-time high here. I do think Ethereum could easily hit over $6,000 this cycle. So we are going to see a massive and super important phase of the cycle. And therefore I do have a major warning, because now of course the euphoria in the market is quite high, but actually we do have quite a bearish month upcoming with September, which is usually the most bearish month for Bitcoin and also for Ethereum. So we will have to be cautious about exactly that. On the other hand, you should also not have a bearish bias during the bull market, because we are trading in a bullish phase of this bull market, basically the ending stage. So what is going to be our game plan here? In my personal opinion, I do think we could see a bottom for Bitcoin and crypto in September, because that is what usually happens. If you take a look into the Bitcoin chart with September of the latest years, we can always see a bottoming phase in the market here in 2023. Here in 2024, and now here in 2025 we are closing in on September. And I do think something similar could happen once again, because usually we tend to see a slight drop before or slightly after that rate cut decision of the FOMC, which is happening in September. So let's see about exactly that, but with the seasonality in mind, I do think we could see a little push to the downside for Bitcoin and the crypto market, grabbing some liquidity and then eventually moving higher in Q4. That is going to be the most realistic scenario, and if we are going to see a dip, it would be quite nice, because then I'm just going to buy more, because I don't have a bearish bias. I'm just taking a look into the seasonality. What is the historical data showing? Okay, it's probably going to give us some probability in September to load up even more, and if that is going to be the case, I will be doing so. So that is going to be very important to understand in this upcoming stage in the cycle. Bitcoin is now still trading in the range, but also, like you can see, after that FOMC meeting, Ethereum saw a massive push to the top side, but Bitcoin saw quite a weak reaction in my opinion. So definitely for Bitcoin, a downside move could be coming. Ethereum is looking much stronger in my opinion. Example for Bitcoin here, now in 2025, we did see in 2021 a negative return in September, and also in 2017 we saw something similar. So in those post-halving years exactly the same is happening, and also for Ethereum it isn't quite a bullish month. Of course this time could be different, but let's see about it. It is going to be important that you are not going to take a super bearish stand in the markets all of a sudden, in my opinion. And I quickly want to discuss the rate cut odds, because yesterday we saw a massive surge in those odds, all the way from about 70% coming back up to 91% here. But now the FOMC rate cut probability is coming down once again to 75%. So maybe the market was just a little bit overexcited about the dovish stance of Powell and is now basically realizing that, of course, it's still very uncertain, and we are coming back to that 75% rate cut probability. This is going to be super important data over like the upcoming weeks, because this is also going to show us how important the FOMC meeting itself is going to be. Because, for example, if this is just going to stay 99% just before the meeting, the market does already know what's going to happen, and probably the rate cut is already going to be priced in. So that is also going to have an effect on the price action. And if it is not going to be the case, if you are, for example, going to see 75% or even lower just before the meeting itself is going to be super important. So yeah, we will just monitor this data over like the next few weeks on this channel. So just make sure to subscribe on the channel so you won't be missing out on exactly that, because this is going to be a super important phase this bull market. Then I want to discuss Ethereum, because we did once again see the perfect liquidity grab for Ethereum. That is looking very good. And I must say, guys, in our private and both public Telegram group, we did predict this Ethereum rally quite perfectly, in my opinion. One of our traders, or actually two of our traders, did have a massive trade open on ETH just before we saw Powell pumping the prices all the way to the top side towards those new all-time highs. So if you don't want to be missing out on this, and if you do want help from professional traders in one of our groups, make sure to check out the links in description on this YouTube video to check it out, and then I will see you guys over there. And yeah, then back to my own charts. We have talked about this chart a lot on the channel. Of course, you guys know that I did sell some of my ETH at the conservative case, but now I do think Ethereum could be moving towards that bull case. And in this part of the cycle between the conservative case and the bull case, I do think a lot of money is going to be made with altcoins, because that's probably going to be the phase where that altcoin season is going to kick off. So that's of course amazing. We did see a perfect retest for Ethereum at the top side of this reaccumulation range, exactly like predicted and expected. So that is looking quite good still. Ethereum is just absolutely exploding to the top side. Not much more to say about it. Ethereum versus Bitcoin is showing a bullish crossover on the MACD on the monthly time frame. So on a very big time frame, it's showing a super interesting buy signal and super strong signal, basically, because the last time we saw this, we saw massive momentum for Ethereum versus Bitcoin over quite a long period. So if history is going to repeat here, it's going to be a super bullish phase for Ethereum in the market, and of course also for altcoins. Then I want to quickly discuss the ETF flows of yesterday, because we did saw big ETF flows in towards Ethereum once again from BlackRock and Fidelity. They've bought well over $200 million worth of ETH yesterday, so that is looking quite good. The Bitcoin ETF flow wasn't looking that good, with a slight little outflow, but like stated, the Ethereum ETF is positive once again after a few red days here. It seems like altcoin season could be starting any moment now, or basically it did already start, but we are still waiting for this massive red candle to the downside on the Bitcoin dominance, and now we are nearing and facing the cycle where usually exactly that does tend to happen. So this is going to be a stage to pay attention, because I do think the Bitcoin dominance could be making a huge move to the downside quite soon here. So guys, for altcoins also, it's definitely looking quite good, because we are just between that phase 2 Ethereum and phase 3 large caps, in my opinion. I do think definitely once Ethereum is going to move even higher between the conservative case and the bull case, more money is going to flow in towards large caps, and then eventually in towards lower caps, small caps, and then you are going to see the true altcoin season. I do think we are in a transition phase between phase 2 and phase 3 now, so this is going to be a hugely important phase in the market. Also, the altcoin season index is showing that the altcoin season index is starting to move up once again, so definitely a quite exciting time here. And guys, that was it for today's update video. I hope you guys enjoyed today's update video, and I will see you guys within the next update video tomorrow.